Great storytelling begins with deep, consistent characters. But as a cast grows, it becomes harder to keep their voices distinct. We often fall into the trap of cloned characters, where every hero and villain shares the same internal logic. 16 Core Character Mapper is a free cross-platform character development tool designed to help writers, screenwriters, and game designers visualize their cast's psychology. Grounded in established research, it allows you to map your characters across 16 primary personality dimensions, ensuring every one of them has a unique footprint in your narrative. When you first launch the application, you'll see a clean, three-part layout. On top is the toolbar, with buttons to create a new project, save or load an existing one, and other functions we'll see later on. On the left is the character panel. This is your command center for managing your cast. Here you can add, edit, or delete characters. In the center is the trait grid. This is the heart of the app. Every character you add in the side panel will appear here as a distinct colored bubble. It might seem empty right now, but this bird's eye view is powerful. It lets you see at a glance who your characters are and where they overlap too much, or more importantly, where they clash. Let's start a new project and give it a title. I'll call this The Show. I'm ready to click the Add button to add my first character. I'll call this one Jane. I'll choose a green color for her and then define her character type, which for Jane is main, as she's our protagonist. In 16 Core Character Mapper, you have two ways to define a character's personality. The quickest way is to click OK and start manually adjusting the sliders on the trait grid. You can also take the built-in questionnaire, if you have no clue who your character is yet. I do have an idea about Jane, so I'll go straight to the trait grid. Once I hit OK, 16 green bubbles pop up on the grid, ready to be moved. I can start with things I already know about her. I'll skip warmth and intellect, as I'm not yet sure where she sits, and go straight to emotional stability. I know Jane is emotionally stable and stays calm under pressure, so I'll drag her bubble to the right. I also know that she's quite lively and spontaneous, so I'll drag her gregariousness bubble to the right, and that she trusts people, so I'll drag her distrust bubble to the left. Note how each trait has a description and some examples of what the two extremes mean. These will help you decide where your character lands on each scale. I'll keep mapping Jane's personality on the traits grid until I have a full portrait of her behavioral characteristics. Where 16 Core Character Mapper really shines is when you start adding multiple characters. Let's add the antagonist of my story, who's called Ross. He's Jane's supervisor at work. I know that Ross's main characteristic is that he's bossy. I'll go straight to assertiveness and drag his red bubble all the way to the right. I can instantly see that Ross and Jane have a similar assertiveness score. I can now decide to make Jane much more obedient or keep her almost as assertive as Ross. The first option makes Jane suffer under Ross's leadership. The second one makes them actively fight over who's the boss. Both decisions create conflict, but the latter sounds more like the Jane I have in mind. To keep track of this idea, I can use trait notes. I'll click on the note icon of the card and write it down. My notes are automatically saved with the project. I'll keep adjusting Ross's bubbles on the trait grid, making sure I create contrast between him and Jane. As we've already seen, contrast doesn't always mean opposite values. Remember that people can antagonize each other for being too much alike as well. Jane and Ross may be too similar in the assertiveness scale, but their vast distance on the reserve scale makes them behave differently. Ross believes that leadership means being distant and undisclosing towards his subordinates, while Jane hopes to be open and transparent with her team. I'll make sure to record this thought on my reserve notes. Now let's add a friend for Jane, a secondary character named Liam. I'll assign him a blue bubble and set his role to supporting. For Liam, I want to use the questionnaire. If you aren't yet sure where a character sits on the 16 traits, this is the perfect starting point. It presents a series of targeted questions designed to probe the character's disposition. As you answer, the app calculates a precise psychological placement on the grid. You don't have to answer every question. Any blanks are simply treated as neutral, allowing you to do a deep dive for your leads or a quick sketch for minor characters. Once we hit OK, Liam's profile is added to the map. Here is where you'll notice a difference. Liam's bubbles are smaller than Jane's. In 16-core character mapper, the character type determines the size of the dots, helping you visually distinguish your cast's hierarchy at a glance. You can return to the questionnaire for any character at any point through the Edit Character dialog. Only the traits you answer again will be updated, and these new answers will adjust your character's positions on the grid accordingly. Before we move on, it's worth noting that 16-core character mapper is built for international storytellers. Click the Language dropdown to switch the trait grid and questionnaire between 9 different languages: English, French, German, Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, Dutch, Polish, and Greek. This ensures you can map your character's psychology in the same language you're using to write your narrative. As your cast grows, you might want to focus on specific subplots or groups. In the character panel, you can toggle the visibility icon to hide or show characters on the grid. This is perfect for clearing the noise and focusing strictly on the relationship between 2 specific characters, like Jane and Ross. If you're happy with a character's placement and want to ensure their bubbles don't move while you're experimenting with others, you can use the lock icon. This pins them to the grid, protecting their disposition from accidental changes while you fine-tune the rest of your cast. Once you've mapped your cast and recorded your narrative notes, you'll likely want to reference them outside of the app. 16-core character mapper provides 2 main export options. First, you can click Export Image to save the current trait grid as a high-resolution PNG. You can choose to export the entire cast, or just a specific group to include in your series Bible or share with a co-writer. Second, you can export your notes. This feature compiles every narrative beat you've written, neatly categorized by trait, into a single RTF or plain text document. This way, you can import your research directly into your main writing program, like Scrivener or Final Draft, without the hassle of manually copying and pasting your insights one by one. 16-core character mapper is a powerful cross-platform character development tool, available now for Windows, Mac, and Linux. Because the application works 100% offline, your creative data and character profiles stay private on your own machine, exactly where they belong. There are no accounts to create and no signups required. It's completely free to download and use with all features unlocked. Download the latest version today at the link you'll find in the description. Map their minds, see their differences, and write a better story.